All for his white moonlight's joke. Asher locked me, who is terrified of heights, in a Ferris wheel cabin. When it ascended to the highest point, the entire cabin teetered precariously. As I was scared out of my wits, and blood flowed freely from my thighs, Asher was kissing his white moonlight. The cabin fell from the sky and crashed heavily. Asher shielded his white moonlight's eyes, comforting her softly. Be good, don't look, you'll have nightmares. If it were before, I would have been heartbroken. But this time, I silently contacted a lawyer to draft a divorce agreement, and started counting down the days to leave him. But Asher, when you lost me, why did you call me like a madman? Clara, I know I was wrong, please pick up the phone, okay? The smell of disinfectant stimulated my nerves. I opened my eyes and looked around, finding myself in a hospital. I licked my lips, wanting water, but gauze restricted my movements. With every move, excruciating pain flooded my limbs. Not long after, a burst of hearty laughter came from outside the door. Asher pushed the door open and entered. Bang! The door was slammed shut, not too hard, not too soft. Then he strode over and sat on the chair. He raised an eyebrow, his eyes still holding the remnants of satisfaction. Awake? I turned my head and refused to look at him. Asher clicked his tongue. This was my fault, I shouldn't have left you alone in the cabin. I went to buy you tissues, and when I turned around, the Ferris wheel had already started. I've already fired the staff, Clara, don't be angry. I couldn't help but sneer. Does buying tissues take 10 minutes? Or did you go buy them from Stella? The amusement park is one of the He Group's properties. That day, Asher, knowing I was afraid of heights, forced me onto the Ferris wheel. Led by my humble love, I sat in the cabin with faltering steps. Whether it was fear or morning sickness, I couldn't help but gag. Asher rarely took the initiative to buy me tissues. But then, I saw a scene I will never forget. In the control room, Asher was passionately kissing Stella. Hit where it hurts, Asher was shocked. Then, as always, he stubbornly denied it. So many people have ridden that Ferris wheel. How come only you have problems? Clara, I came to take care of you out of kindness, and you're blaming me instead. As arrogant as Asher was, he always habitually pushed the blame onto me. Even though I was the victim. In the past, perhaps I would have maintained his self-esteem with silence. But suddenly, I didn't want to do that anymore. I sneered. Asher, don't think I don't know, you're using my acrophobia as a toy to amuse Stella. Are you even a man? This was the first time I had defied Asher. Asher stood up with a thud. His brows were tightly furrowed and his chest heaved violently. Clara, have I been too lenient with you? Aren't you still alive? Why are you talking so sarcastically? Did you eat gunpowder? Just as the roar fell, the hospital door was gently pushed open. Stella carried a food box, her eyes filled with tears. Looking at Asher, her lips trembled. Asher, I'm sorry. If I hadn't suddenly fainted, sister-in-law wouldn't be in critical condition. She carefully placed the food box on my bedside. Then she bowed deeply to me, crying uncontrollably. I'm sorry, sister-in-law. I wish I had been beaten to death by those thugs back then. So Asher wouldn't be misunderstood by sister-in-law, and you wouldn't quarrel. After speaking, she opened the food box. The color was golden yellow, obviously freshly stewed. Sister-in-law, this is fish soup I made for you. You're recovering from a serious illness. It's always good to drink more. Ah. But I knocked over the fish soup with a single movement. The fish soup spilled on Stella's white dress, scalding her thighs red. Hearing Stella's exclamation, Asher hurriedly took her in his arms. Having his bottom line crossed, he instantly flew into a rage. Clara, what are you doing? Stella brought you fish soup she made while sick. It's fine if you don't drink it, but you even knocked it over. You've really gone against me. I think you've damaged your brain from the fall. Lifting a corner of Stella's dress, Asher cursed and carried Stella out the door. The fish soup stained the gauze yellow. My tears uncontrollably fell on it. Asher, so you had already forgotten that I'm allergic to fish. Or rather, you never cared. Marrying Asher was during the bloom of my 20s. 9 years have passed since. When we married, Asher couldn't even afford a wedding dress. I picked up a ring from the $2 store and had Asher put it on my finger. Asher loved studying electromechanical engineering, But the industry wasn't developed back then. He constantly ran into walls. I was the one who secretly worked 5 part-time jobs a day. During the prime of my youth, my hands were covered in cracks and calluses, and my body grew thinner by the day. I collapsed on the way to a part-time job. That day, snow fell heavily. Asher carried me back to our dilapidated basement and slapped himself repeatedly. "I'm sorry, Clara, it's all my fault for being useless. Clara, once I achieve success, I will definitely make you the happiest woman in the world." Asher was very talented. In 4 years, he successfully stood in front of the cameras and announced the establishment of his company. All kinds of women rushed forward one after another. Asher began to leave early and return late. The countless scents of perfume on his suit made me numb. At the peak of his career, Stella appeared. Refined and gentle as water. Soon, the two of them appeared in public together. Asher stayed out all night, and no longer considered my feelings. He staunchly defended Stella. "Stella has a tragic background and has gotten to where she is entirely on her own. And you? You have everything you could want, yet you're still so petty." With that, Asher delivered a fatal blow. "Do you know why I don't make our relationship public? Because you and I are simply not a match." Recalling everything from the past, my heart couldn't help but ache. I was hospitalized and recuperated for 3 months. During this time, Asher never came to see me again. He was determined to make me bow my head first. Or perhaps he had long forgotten that I even existed. The day I was discharged from the hospital, I prepared a lavish meal. I wanted to cheer myself up, but my phone, computer, and TV were all filled with news of Asher and Stella officially announcing their relationship. I went to the mall to wander around. On the central screen, Asher was being interviewed by reporters, looking triumphant. "Mr. Asher, are you still single?" Asher held the shy Stella in his arms and kissed her. He raised their intertwined hands, showing off a dazzling diamond ring. "Of course not. Today I, Asher, want the whole world to know this happy news." He faced the camera, his gaze earnest. He said word by word, "Stella, I'm going to marry you." "Oh my, Mr. Asher's fiancée is so beautiful." "Of course the CEO's fiancée is beautiful. Do you think he'd find someone like us, destined for a life of hard work?" I quickly left the shop and ran to the restroom to retch. Under the dim light, the faded copper ring from the $2 store stung my eyes. I took off the copper ring and threw it into the toilet, watching as it was flushed away. My phone rang. As soon as I answered, Asher's superior voice said, "Clara, I'm giving you one last chance. As long as you're willing to admit your mistake, I'll make everyone who saw today's press conference collectively forget it." I couldn't help but laugh. He knew this would hurt me, but he still did it, just to force me to submit. But this time, I didn't want to be entangled with him anymore. I chuckled softly. "Don't give me any more chances." On the other end of the phone, Asher was silent for a long time. When he realized what I had said, his voice instantly hardened. "Clara, is your brain really damaged from the fall? Do you know what you're saying?" I repeated firmly, "Mr. Asher, you don't need to give me any more chances. I wish you and Stella happiness together and many children." Then the roar on the other end of the phone made my hand go numb. "Clara, are you biting the hand that feeds you?" Then divorce. The same old trick. In the past, as long as Asher said divorce, I would definitely give in. He knew I loved him, and I couldn't bear to lose him. But today his threat had become a reality. I only felt a sense of relief. Okay. I'll go find a lawyer to draft a divorce agreement today, and I'll have someone deliver it to you within 3 days. My seriousness and indifference instantly brought Asher back to his senses. Finally, Asher reluctantly lowered his head. "Clara, don't make a fuss. Once I'm done with this, I'll take you to the Maldives, okay?" The Maldives. The blue sea I had watched in videos for 9 years. But now I didn't want to go anymore. Thinking about it, this seemed to be the first time Asher had softened towards me after our marriage. But I almost wished he would continue to be stubborn. That way I could be completely free. The wound throbbed faintly, silently reminding me of the suffering I had endured. Patience gone, I issued my final ultimatum. "No need. I don't want to go to the Maldives anymore anyway." With that, I hung up the phone. The next day at the press conference, Asher had achieved great success, his career expanding globally. I grew tired of it and used the remote to turn off the TV. The moment the screen went dark, I noticed Asher's gaze lingering, clearly searching for something. I knew. He was looking for me. I had never missed any of Asher's mechatronics competitions, and my phone was full of his pictures. Every time I got a new phone, I would transfer the photos, unwilling to delete a single one even if the phone was slow. This was my agreement with Asher. As long as Asher won the championship, I would give him a big hug on the spot. But since Stella appeared, I no longer had the right. Asher gave Stella a kiss on the screen. From then on, everyone assumed Stella was Asher's girlfriend. I opened my phone and surfed the internet. Videos about Asher were persistently pushed to my account. I clicked on the comments and saw 2 comments with over 10,000 likes. I said Mr. Asher had a girlfriend, didn't I? Keeping her hidden away. Sister Stella is so beautiful. It turns out their romance was traceable as early as Mr. Asher's 6th mechatronics competition. Strange. My heart didn't seem to hurt anymore. I made myself a bowl of beef noodles. The sound of the lock clicking echoed. Asher was finally home. His suit was soaked by the heavy rain, and his tone was resentful. I didn't see you in the audience today. He paused, then added, Clara, you never do that. At least you didn't used to. I casually closed the window. The downpour washed away the city's sins. I remembered that day's competition. It was raining just as heavily. We were very poor back then, and could only afford to rent shared bicycles. To preserve Asher's strength, I carried him on the bike, cycling through the rain. Scooping the beef noodles from the pot, I said casually, it was raining today, I didn't want to go. The suit was thrown carelessly on the floor. Asher frowned, wanting to say something. After a long while he didn't speak. I asked, isn't Stella enough to accompany you? Stella was like a taboo. Every time she was mentioned, things would explode. As expected, Asher's gaze turned cold. Why do you always harp on Stella? She's a student I'm sponsoring, and she's also very talented. She shouldn't be buried by poverty like I was. That kiss was just to hype up her image, to make the public familiar with her. I just quietly ate my noodles. I was also there at the competition where Asher kissed Stella. I opened my arms to hug Asher, but he pushed me away. In front of me, the 2 of them kissed unrestrainedly. My stunned expression went viral online. Joy was frozen on the faces of the 2 of them, while my outstretched hands were lined with wrinkles. Overwhelming abuse flooded towards me. How can this old hag have the nerve to interfere with young people's romance? I saw her hugging Mr. Asher several times before. Look at her, she must be threatening Mr. Asher somehow. Look at her hands, TSK, they have more wrinkles than my grandmother's. Only I knew how difficult that time was. Fortunately, I was an orphan, so my family wouldn't be affected. The beef noodles were fragrant, but they tasted like wax in my mouth. Asher snorted coldly, and went to the sofa to read the newspaper. After finishing the noodles, I handed the divorce agreement to Asher. Asher pretended not to see it. I snatched the newspaper and forced the divorce agreement into his hands. Asher's forehead veins bulged, and his eyes were bloodshot. He finally couldn't help but explode. He jumped up suddenly. Clara, do you want a divorce from me that badly? Huh, you're already 29. Look at yourself. Who else would want you after a divorce with me? Married to Asher for 9 years, I was already used to his scolding and meanness. I handed him the pen, as still as a corpse. I will work to support myself. In short, I want a divorce from you. As soon as the words left my mouth, Asher picked up the pen and quickly signed his name. He threw it at my face and pointed to the door. Get out. Get out tomorrow. I want to bring Stella in. Take all your damn things with you and get out. Quietly putting away the agreement, I pulled out my suitcase from the bedroom. My eyes scanned the room. A house lived in for 9 years, filled with furniture. Every piece was decorated by Asher and me, but all I took away was an empty suitcase. Without lingering, I changed my shoes and went out. The moment I stepped out the door, Asher threatened. Clara, don't you dare regret it. You. Before he could finish, I closed the door, never listening to his voice again. Tonight's air was fresher than ever before. Sitting in the taxi, The driver asked me with a smile. Beautiful, where to? I placed my suitcase. To Xianghe District. The landlady was waiting for me early in the rented house. While handing me the keys, she also left me 2 pots of lilies in full bloom. I thought that leaving Asher would make me miserable. But on the contrary, my life changed a lot. I no longer had to get up early and work late to cook for Asher, revolving around him like the earth revolves around the sun. Nor did I have to read obscure mechanical and electrical books, trying to have a topic to talk about with Asher. Asher's path to success was sprinkled with my sweat. But that was the past. It doesn't matter anymore. Half a month later, I came to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor put down the instrument. The fetal condition has stabilized. We can proceed with the abortion. Have a family member come and sign. I shook my head. The doctor complained. His wife went through something so serious. Why hasn't the father come? Lowering my eyes, I touched my stomach one last time. We're divorced. Good riddance. The doctor slapped his thigh. When you were rushed in for emergency care, he was flirting with a woman in the hallway, completely unaware that you were pregnant and nearly miscarried. It's better to not have a man like that. After the surgery, I could barely stand. I walked very slowly, and along the way, I kept hearing news of accidents happening at his amusement park. He Group Amusement Park's Ferris wheel cabin fell, resulting in 1 death and 5 injuries. And the video of my cabin falling was anonymously posted online. Striking red letters hung on the trending search, not budging for a long time. I just moved forward slowly. After all, this had nothing to do with me. Just as I walked out of the ward area, I saw Asher rushing around in the hospital lobby. Seeing me, he strode towards me and grabbed my arm. Clara, look at the good you've done. The noisy hospital instantly fell silent. Stella was behind Asher. Seeing me look at her, she provoked me with her eyes. Let go of me. My abdomen throbbed, and I tried to shake off Asher's hand. Clara, you're truly a poisonous woman. Asher, without knowing the truth, roared in public. You already knew that I put Stella in charge of managing the amusement park, right? That's why you used such underhanded means. His eyes were bloodshot, and his hand holding my arm trembled uncontrollably. Those are all human lives. You can be jealous and fight over me usually, but you're not human to frame Stella like this. Stella seized the opportunity to throw herself into Asher's arms, crying pitifully. Now the families of the dead and injured are all at the He Group building. How am I supposed to explain this to them? Do I have to say that my ex-wife, out of jealousy, deliberately had someone loosen the screws on the Ferris wheel cabins? Clara, you're so terrifying that you disgust me. Slap. A heavy slap landed on Asher's face. While he was stunned, I took the opportunity to break free from his grasp. Do you have evidence that I did it? If you don't have evidence, I can sue you for slander and defamation. His cheeks quickly flushed red and swollen. He spat out blood and glared at me viciously. Good, very good. Before he could react, I quickly said, I happen to have evidence, and the culprit is right under our noses. Hearing my sophistry, Asher's anger intensified. From Asher's point of view, Stella's eyes flickered violently. She gave me a provocative smile and feigned comfort. Asher, don't get worked up. Clara is just feeling overwhelmed for a moment, and wants to use this method to make you care about her. Asher stepped forward and slapped me back. He raised his voice. Don't explain for her. I know exactly how vicious she is. The bitch still wants to quibble. Stella just graduated. Do you know how important reputation is to her? After saying that, he pushed me to the ground. The wound tore open, and blood slowly pooled beneath me. The abortion form floated through the air and landed at Asher's feet. Everyone froze. Asher picked up the abortion form. Like a motorcycle stalling, the look in his eyes shifted from furious hatred to astonishment and surprise. But there was no pity at all. I couldn't even feel the pain, and just stared fixedly at Asher. He had said that he wanted to have a child with me. Having a child meant having a family. This child came at a bad time, and left just as lightly. I now understood that Asher didn't not believe me, but he was unwilling to believe me. Clara. Asher's voice trembled, and he hurriedly helped me up. Clara, why didn't you tell me you were pregnant? Why did you abort the child? I raised my hand and slapped Asher again. Don't touch me. The slap wasn't hard, but it made Asher stand there, without turning his head for a long time. That night, I signed my name on the contract for teaching in a remote mountain village. The person in charge called me, his slightly broken Mandarin mixed with barely concealed excitement. "Thank you, Ms. Clara, for being willing to come and dedicate yourself to teaching in our rural area. I bought a train ticket for tomorrow at dawn." I put down my phone and walked to the window, taking one last look at the city I called home. Since I was little, I had a dream. To bring knowledge to a distant land, to contribute to the development of education in the border regions. The day I filled out my university application, Asher silently ran to the rooftop, ashes scattered on the ground. I quietly changed my application to local universities. Back then, I was afraid Asher would be unhappy. But now, as I boarded the train, I saw a figure push through the crowd, rushing towards me. This was the first time I'd seen Asher so disheveled. And the first time I'd seen panic in his eyes. His gaze landed on me, and Asher's eyes shone with light. He wanted to get closer, but was stopped by the security guard and the cordon. We were so close, yet so far away. "Clara, don't go. I already know that Stella, that bitch, staged everything to frame you." As early as the night I came back from the hospital, I anonymously sent the video I took to the police station. I immediately attached the seat panel of the Ferris wheel cabin, which had Stella's fingerprints on it. With the evidence undeniable, Stella was thrown in jail the next day. I heard that she was cursing me the whole time she was being arrested. "It's just a shame Asher is only thinking of me now." He frantically rummaged through his pockets. Finally, he pulled out a stack of yellowed cards. Asher begged me desperately, not caring about his image. "Clara, please just look at them." I was more than familiar with these cards. They were the guarantee cards I wrote for Asher in the hospital that year. The year I had the car accident, Asher knelt before everyone asking for help. He went to sell his blood, and there wasn't a single good patch of skin left on his arms. The night the critical illness notice was issued, he suddenly took my hand solemnly. "Clara, if you die, I definitely won't live alone." Before I was pushed into the operating room, he used his last savings to buy wishing coupons. Chores coupon. Upon presentation of this card, no matter how tired Asher is, he will do all the housework, never letting Queen Clara suffer. Kiss coupon. Upon presentation of this card, Clara must kiss Asher until Asher is satisfied. I signed my name on each card, but when I got to the last one, I was stunned. Companionship coupon, only one in the world. Clara will accompany Asher for the rest of his life, never, ever leaving Asher. Thinking of the surgery with only a 10% success rate, my pen hesitated in midair. Asher's tears wet the hospital bed. "Clara, please, just let me have something to hold on to." My delicate handwriting mixed with Asher's tears appeared on the companionship coupon. I don't know how long it took. When I opened my eyes again, Asher told me ecstatically that the surgery was a success. We hugged and kissed. I only found out later. Originally, my heart had stopped, but it restarted under Asher's cries. At that time, I was holding the companionship coupon in my hand. Perhaps the magic of love awakened me. But it was also love that plunged me into the abyss. The crumpled coupon lay quietly in Asher's palm. In his eyes, the same plea that he had back then surged. But everything was already different. I shook my head and slowly opened my mouth. "It's expired. It expired the first time you scolded me for Stella." Asher's hand trembled uncontrollably. He hesitated several times, never knowing how to speak. Tears instantly fell from his eyes and he sniffled. "Clara, don't be like this, okay? Asher knows he was wrong. Come home with Asher, okay?" He put his hands on his head and made a sheep's horn shape, which was very funny. Asher was the nickname I gave him. Back then, I always had insomnia. Asher would gently pat my back and count sheep for me. From barely falling asleep after counting thousands of sheep to falling soundly asleep after counting dozens of sheep. In Asher's arms, I could always fall asleep quickly. I said he was my little sheep. He would put his hands on his head like this and bleat. Asher remembers everything. But it's as if he's forgotten everything. Ever since he started supporting Stella, he was no longer my little sheep. He ignored my words. His late nights and rages became commonplace. 9 years. I sat on the sofa and waited for 9 whole years. Huddled on the sofa, I desperately counted sheep. But the strange thing was, the magic of counting sheep didn't work. Even after counting tens of thousands of sheep, I still couldn't fall asleep. I still remember the sky that early morning. The train attendant started urging passengers to board. I straightened my collar impatiently. Just take them. Asher took a step forward, close to the cordon. Clara, come home with me, okay? He shoved all the coupons into my hands. I'll use everything I have to exchange for you coming home with me, okay? I took the stack of coupons. Under Asher's ecstatic gaze, I threw them into the trash can. These coupons only count when they are accompanied by love. Asher, I don't love you anymore. After saying that, I didn't even bother to look at his expression, turned around and left. Behind me came the train attendant's warning to stop Asher. Asher was like an enraged beast, calling my name over and over again. Clara, you're lying to me. You clearly said it, you said you would love me. Why are you abandoning me, leaving me all alone? Clara, I hate you, I hate you. Asher cried with all his might. But I never looked back again. Just pretend I died on the operating table back then. I was assigned to teach in a small mountain village. The music teacher is Miles, a senior from the class of 12 in the music department. Miles smiles gently. Don't be nervous, teacher Clara. The children here are very simple and honest. Standing on the platform for the first time, my hands trembled uncontrollably. Below the platform, pairs of dark eyes were full of thirst for knowledge. The internet connection is very poor in the mountains. Fortunately, I didn't need to use my phone anyway. These days, I keep receiving fragmented messages from Asher. Seeing that I don't reply, he even called the police. Helpless, I could only answer his video call. Clara. Before seeing him, I heard his voice first. I ignored him, holding a toddler in my arms who was just learning to speak. I don't know if it was a bad signal, or Asher wasn't speaking. It wasn't until I looked at the phone and asked, "Is there something you need?" that Asher continued. Clara, once I've finished dealing with the things I have at hand, I'll come find you. Before I could speak, Miles walked over happily and took the child away. Asher's gaze instantly became sharp. Clara, who is he? An inexplicable sense of annoyance rose in my heart, and just then the signal cut off. I hung up the phone, left it in the dormitory, and let it buzz and vibrate incessantly. The village chief said a young man had come to the village. Today was Saturday, a rare moment of leisure. But it was broken by Asher outside my building. A torrential downpour began at night. Asher stood outside the building like that for a whole night. The next day he collapsed downstairs. The village chief sighed. Clara, he says he's your husband. If you don't open the door, he'll die here. I didn't want to make things difficult for the village chief, so I had someone let him in. Asher was acting strangely. He had been desperately trying to get into my room just moments before. But now, with the door wide open, he stopped outside, gazing at me. I was making beef noodles. Asher suddenly said, Clara, I want to eat the beef noodles you make. Memories flooded back, and I began to feel agitated. During the poorest year, Asher became anemic due to malnutrition. I sold my hair to buy Asher a piece of not-so-fresh beef. Asher stroked my uneven short hair over and over, tearfully eating the beef noodles. He always said that he loved my beef noodles the most. That piece of beef, along with Asher's success and fame, grew bigger and fresher. On the day he corporation was established, I made a bowl of beef noodles as usual. The aroma was intoxicating. But the noodles were reheated several times, and Asher never came home. I ate the noodles. In the early hours of the morning, Asher came home reeking of alcohol. I made beef noodles again. He glanced at it coldly and tossed a takeout meal from outside onto the table. All you can make is this lousy noodle dish. Can't you come up with something new after all these years? That was the first argument Asher and I ever had. It was also the first time he stormed out. Asher didn't come home for 3 days. Sitting at the dining table, I devoured the beef noodles mixed with tears. So, that's how bad it tastes. But Asher, you once said that you loved my beef noodles the most. That night, Stella posted on social media, holding a spatula, wearing an apron, and smiling sweetly at the camera. In the photo, Asher was stuffing beef noodles into his mouth, eating heartily. The caption read, "Finally made Mr. Asher's most favorite beef noodles." That night, I fainted several times from crying, and no one cared. Now I will never cry for people who are not worth it again. I put the noodles in the pot. The hot beef noodles were topped with emerald green scallions, and they tasted delicious. I ate them in big mouthfuls. "Clara, I want to eat the beef noodles you make too," Asher repeated. I replied in my spare time, "Stella makes better beef noodles than I do. You should go find her." Asher's expression changed slightly when I mentioned Stella. He avoided my gaze. "Clara, I know I was wrong. Stella deceived me. I looked at the surveillance footage and discovered the flaws. I realized that she had disguised herself as you and tampered with the Ferris wheel cabin. Clara, please come home with me?" Before I could answer, the phone rang. "Mr. Asher, Miss Stella is threatening to jump off a building again." Asher glanced at me uncomfortably. He walked to the corner and whispered, "I'm not available here. Handle it yourself." There was a burst of noise on the other end of the phone. Then a sobbing female voice came through. "Brother Asher, thank you for taking care of me all this time. But the pressure of public opinion has already crushed my body and mind. The media says I'm a murderer, a mistress, a scheming woman. Brother Asher, you and your wife take care. We'll meet again in the next life." After she said that, the sound of wind and screaming came from the receiver. The phone hung up, and Asher looked at me. I calmly scrolled through my phone eating noodles. His tired eyes were filled with urgency, and he finally spoke. "Clara, there's something going on at the company. I need to go back and deal with it." I said indifferently, "You don't need to consider my feelings. I'm just your ex-wife. Stella has severe depression. You shouldn't abandon her to come looking for me." Asher's face looked terrible. He hurriedly explained, "Clara, Stella is your savior after all. Can't you have so much animosity towards her?" The night Asher won the championship, we were cornered in an alley and beaten by thugs. Stella risked her life to call the police, who arrived on the scene in time. From then on, Asher became her benefactor. But Stella arrived too timely, and the thugs left too quickly. As soon as the phone call ended, the police arrived on the scene. I don't believe it wasn't staged, but Asher believed it. I once raised my doubts to Asher, but he refuted me. "Clara, when did your heart become so dirty? Even if it's fake, Stella is a girl who risked her life for us. We should repay her." I naively thought that Asher just wanted to repay her kindness. I didn't expect that he was deliberately biased. Just like now, I can never wake up someone who is pretending to be asleep. "Okay," I said frankly, "then go save your savior now." Disappointment and disbelief were mixed in Asher's eyes. He took a step back, step by step. In the end, he abandoned me. This concerns a life, I can't ignore it. The small room was filled with a suffocating silence. "Clara, why have you become so?" Seemingly unable to find the right adjective, Asher paused for a long time before continuing. "Unreasonable." I chuckled. In the past, I would always argue with Asher because of trivial things. He would get angry. But now when I agree with him, he still gets angry. After eating the last bite of beef noodles, I turned and walked into the kitchen. The sound of phone keys clicking came from the living room. The village signal was bad, and he became more and more anxious as he dialed. When the assistant finally answered the phone, he immediately said, "Prepare a plane for me right now." After hanging up, he came to condemn me again. "Clara, you're really too cold-blooded. I haven't slept well for days and nights because of you, standing in the rain all night without getting a shred of your sympathy. I wanted to talk to you properly, but you said such hurtful things. When did you become like this?" I didn't bother to listen to Asher's accusations and raised my chin to urge him. "Go find Stella quickly. A little later and she'll jump." Asher's anger intensified, and he rushed out the door. Bang! The door slammed shut, kicking up dust. Silence returned to the room. I suddenly realized that our roles had been reversed. So Asher would be anxious, and I would be indifferent. Asher's arrival and departure had no impact on me. Perhaps he went to comfort Stella. He didn't appear again for half a month. Today, Miles and I went to town for supplies. We passed a special restaurant, and Miles invited me to eat. I didn't refuse. Before, because of Asher's possessiveness, I basically didn't attend any gatherings with men, just to reassure the sensitive Asher. Looking back now, it's ridiculous to give up everything for a man. Miles is very gentlemanly. We sat by the bright window, watching people come and go. Why are you spacing out? Miles waved his large hand in front of my eyes. I finally came to my senses and smiled apologetically. It's nothing. It's been a long time since someone has taken care of me like this. Such warmth makes me feel like it's another lifetime. I ate a very full meal. It was already night when we left. On the way back to school, I passed a cake shop. Miles went into the cake shop and bought one for me. I looked up in surprise. I met Miles' smiling face. Miles opened his mouth, just about to say something when a fierce figure rushed in front of him and punched him in the face. Everything happened so suddenly. By the time I reacted, the furious Asher had already pinned Miles to the ground and was beating him. Miles, after recovering, didn't show any weakness either. Asher's moves were deadly. How dare you touch Clara? You're a man, don't think I don't know what you're thinking. What am I thinking? Miles laughed. Clara is single, so what if I have feelings for her? Passers-by hurriedly hid aside to watch the show. Asher. For the first time, my voice was tinged with hostility towards Asher. Clinging tightly to Asher's shoulders, I screamed. Let him go. No way. Asher's muscles tensed. Everyone in the world knows that Clara is Asher's woman. Damn it. You dare to steal her, today I'll kill you. Standing in front of Miles, I spoke solemnly. Asher, stop doing whatever you want. Asher was panting heavily, his scarlet eyes trembling. He raised his arm and pointed at Miles. Clara, move aside. No. My gaze was firm. Asher, I'm tired. Stop interfering in anything about me. From the moment you sided with Stella, we've had nothing to do with each other. Asher was stunned, his eyes filled with hurt. In front of Asher, I dragged Miles away. The cake was thrown on the ground, and cream spilled everywhere. I settled Miles in the clinic. At this moment, it started to rain heavily. The trees swayed, and a nest of little birds fell to the ground. They scattered and fled, about to be washed into the sewer. I was just as helpless on that Ferris wheel that day. An unknown emotion spread in my heart. Hastily grabbing an umbrella, I walked forward in the heavy rain. The next second, something unexpected happened. A strong light shone on my surprised face. A runaway car suddenly rushed out from the corner, heading straight for me, crouching on the ground. Clara! Asher's heart-rending roar was intermittent in the rain. I was pushed away abruptly, staggering and falling into a puddle. Asher's body flew more than 10 meters away. He lay on the ground, his eyes filled with lingering loss. Seeing that I was safe and sound, the corner of his mouth curled into a smile, and he slowly closed his eyes. Blood. Blood everywhere. A large pool of blood slowly spread beneath Asher. Like a strange and enchanting flower. Clara, have some water. A bottle of water was offered to me, Miles comforting me. My eyes were fixed on the 3 red characters, operating above the door. I opened my parched lips and shook my head. Clack, clack, clack. The sound of high heels echoed in the solemn hospital. Stella was furious. Asher is in a life-or-death situation to save you, and you. The operating light went out. 3 pairs of eyes all looked at the operating room door. The doctor took off his mask. Which one of you is Clara? Stella grabbed the doctor's hand. Doctor, I am the patient's family member, please save him. Are you Clara? The doctor looked at Stella. The patient is in critical condition, constantly murmuring the name of a Ms. Clara. Clara, please come with me. Stella didn't move. Under the doctor's urging, she moved her lips hesitantly, then turned to look at me. Clara, no matter what, Asher got into this situation because of you, you have to take responsibility. Having said that, she softened her tone. After this time, I will never let Asher bother you again. This was the first time I'd seen Asher so quiet. His face was pale as paper, his entire body wrapped in bandages. The fluctuations of the heart monitor grew weaker and weaker. I sat quietly before the bed, lowering my eyelashes. Asher. The person on the bed trembled violently. The red line on the heart monitor resumed its arc. I spoke of so many things about us. Meeting at school, exchanging glances, faces flushing red. being kicked out of our home by the landlord when we were at our poorest, sleeping under a damp, cold bridge. I recounted the embarrassing things Asher's friends had jokingly said about him, and the only joys of my childhood. But I didn't speak of our future. Asher's hand was clutching a ring box. I suddenly remembered that rainy night, Asher standing several meters away for a long, long time. Maybe he was there to give me the ring, but I no longer cared to find out. The patient's heartbeat is restored. The patient's heartbeat is restored. A miracle, it's simply a miracle. The doctor exclaimed. Before I left, a single tear escaped from the corner of Asher's eye, and I simply got up and disappeared into this never-ending downpour. 9 years ago, I prayed on my birthday. Let time slow down even more. That way, I could watch Asher shed his youth and grow old with me. 9 years later. I only want time to speed up even more. So fast, like a movie playing at 10 times the speed, hurriedly glossing over a person's life. Memories are beautiful and bright, of course, but now I only want to break free and be reborn. Let that Asher who loved me the most remain forever in my memory. Extra chapter. Asher had a beautiful dream. In the dream, he and Clara went back to the beginning. But when he opened his eyes, that gentle and graceful figure was nowhere to be found. These 9 years with Clara. Whether he succeeded or failed, he could always see Clara smiling at him from a few meters away. He was never a genius. The opportunities to frequently win in competitions were due to the love Clara gave him. Asher, you're the best mechatronics researcher in the world. Another champion. My Asher is the most amazing. But at some unknown time, Asher became Asher, and Clara's figure faded more and more. In the hospital room, Asher, unable to find Clara, cried like a child. He finally realized that he had lost the person who loved him the most. 3 months later, Heisher Group was exposed for having major safety hazards in its amusement park. Outside Heisher's company, the crowd was bustling. The trending topic remained persistent, but Asher never showed up to explain. Half a month later, Asher admitted in front of reporters that the Heisher amusement park's Ferris wheel had major hidden dangers. The Ferris wheel incident was Stella's doing, but it was with his tacit consent. This trending topic was also Stella's act of sabotage out of hatred. But he accepted everything. These days he couldn't sleep at night. As soon as he closed his eyes, he could see the gondola falling from the sky. He saw Clara crawling out of the gondola covered in blood, reaching out to him. Back then he only covered Stella's eyes. After Clara disappeared, he repeatedly reached out to Clara in his nightmares, desperately begging her not to go into the gondola. It was like a rewind. Asher watched Clara fall from the sky again and again. Either die or leave. Everything was in vain. He had lost Clara forever. Therefore he confessed his crimes. Listening to the sky full of abuse, he felt a little comfort in his heart. Clara was still teaching in a small mountain village. Asher had sat in the corner of a cafe more than once, peeking over the low fence at Clara teaching. This winter heavy snow was flying. In a daze, Asher remembered that today was his and Clara's 10th anniversary. He finally mustered the courage to walk towards the school with the diamond ring he had been clutching in his hand for a long time. But when he saw the happy smile on Clara's face from afar, his feet felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds, and he couldn't lift them at all. He had only seen such a smile when he and Clara were deeply in love. It was very cold today. So cold that it penetrated to the bone. Clara was slowly walking out of the hospital. Miles draped a coat over her, and held up an umbrella. "Honey, you've worked hard." Miles' eyes were full of doting, and his hand trembled as he stroked Clara's slightly protruding belly. Clara's eyes were full of tenderness. "We're going to be a family of 3 soon." Miles' kiss landed on Clara's cool forehead. "Thank you, honey. Thank you for being willing to give me a home." The diamond ring in his hand fell to the snow. The car drove past, and the light shone on the word, "One" on the diamond ring. The loving figures of the two disappeared into the snowy night. Asher then realized belatedly, he really had nothing to do with Clara anymore. Once upon a time, he also had a warm home, a wife who loved him, and an unborn child. But he had long since lost it.